I've covered many heartbreaking stories of mothers being killed, leaving their children behind, confused and helpless. But what you're about to see are some of the most shocking cases I've ever come across. These are painful and deeply disturbing stories of young women who were not only killed, but were also pregnant at the time. Their lives were stolen before they ever got the chance to hold their babies. And we begin with one such mother whose life was taken just days after celebrating her baby shower. In the late hours of June 4th, 2024, a 33-year-old pregnant woman was found dead with multiple gunshot wounds in her apartment. Bolivia Monique had been looking forward to welcoming her sixth child. She had just celebrated her gender reveal party, and moments later, she was found, murdered. As investigators dug deeper, they uncovered a tragic truth. The person responsible wasn't a stranger, but the very one who should have protected her at all costs, the father of her unborn child. This is the tragic case of Bolivia Monique Williams. 33-year-old Bolivia Monique Williams was born on March 10, 1991, in Columbus County, North Carolina, and later made her home in Regalwood. She was the daughter of Peggy Blanks and Michael Williams. Those who knew Bolivia remember her as a vibrant and joyful soul, someone who radiated love and positivity wherever she went. She had a deep passion for dancing and a natural ability to uplift those around her. Her energy was contagious and her presence left a lasting impact.
Yes. Ooh, yes, child. You guys.
Bolivia also loved social media, often sharing snapshots of her life through photos and videos. Her online presence reflected her bright spirit and her love for connecting with others. Bolivia attended Southeastern Community College, where she left a lasting impression on both classmates and professors with her vibrant energy and strong work ethic. That same lively spirit followed her into adulthood, where she pursued her passion for business and became an entrepreneur. To those who knew her, Bolivia's sense of style was always on point, turning heads wherever she went. But beyond the fun and fashion, Bolivia was deeply compassionate and generous. She treated everyone with kindness and respect, giving love freely and sincerely. So it was no surprise when she caught the attention of a man who would go on to change her life forever. Bolivia eventually met a man. Let's call him Joe for the sake of this story. The connection between them was instant. They were young, full of life, and shared a lot in common. From the outside, their relationship seemed happy and genuine. Although much is not publicly known about Joe, what was clear was that he and Bolivia quickly fell for each other. They spent more and more time together, and as their bond deepened, their lives took a major turn. Bolivia found out she was pregnant. The news brought pure excitement. Both Bolivia and Joe were thrilled at the idea of becoming parents. They embraced the journey ahead with open hearts. For Bolivia, it was a dream come true. She looked forward to motherhood with joy and hope, especially with Joe by her side, as they prepared to build a future together. A few months later, the couple welcomed a beautiful baby boy. From the very beginning, it was as if motherhood came naturally to Bolivia. She embraced it with grace and warmth, seamlessly stepping into her new role. Her social media became a reflection of the joy she felt, filled with adorable photos and videos of her baby. Not long after, their family grew again with the arrival of a beautiful baby girl. Her presence brought even more love into the home, and Bolivia embraced motherhood with the same passion and tenderness she always had. But love alone wasn't enough to hold everything together. Slowly, cracks began to form beneath the surface. By 2018, Bolivia was a proud mother of 5 children, whose ages ranged from 16 to an 11-month-old toddler. While it's unclear whether Joe was the father of all the children, what was clear was that at some point, Bolivia and Joe's once loving relationship began to fall apart, and the two eventually went their separate ways. Despite the challenges she faced, Bolivia found new strength in the role that mattered most to her. Still, Bolivia never let heartbreak define her. She built her identity around motherhood. Her 5 children were the heartbeat of her life. Friends described her as a hands-on mom who never missed a school event, no matter how busy she was. She treated each of her children as individuals, nurturing their unique personalities with care and understanding. She documented every special moment. Supporting her every step of the way was her mother, Peggy Blanks. More than just a grandmother, Peggy was Bolivia's rock and trusted confidant. Their relationship wasn't just mother and daughter. It was a strong, unwavering partnership rooted in love and their shared devotion to raising Bolivia's kids. 3 times a week, Peggy would arrive with home-cooked meals and stay to help with the bedtime routines. During school breaks, she'd take the older children to her home, giving Bolivia the chance to rest and recharge. Their phone calls were a constant, multiple times a day, quick check-ins to stay connected amidst their busy lives. Neighbors often say that Bolivia had inherited her mother's strength, work ethic, and fierce protectiveness. Bolivia's days began at 5:30 a.m., preparing breakfast and lunches before waking her children for school. After the drop-offs, she would tackle household management, budgeting, appointments, and keeping their modest home running smoothly. She turned their backyard into a campsite for weekend adventures, organized homemade birthday celebrations with heartfelt touches, and hosted spontaneous dance parties in their living room.
With her friends and family.
Despite the challenges, she filled their home with laughter, love, and the kind of magic that money can't buy. That was until her path crossed with a man whom she thought was there to help her carry her burdens, but would soon become the heaviest one of all. In early 2023, Bolivia met 31-year-old Neji Devon Leach through mutual acquaintances at a community gathering. Neji appeared warm and thoughtful, always knowing the right thing to say, traits that immediately stood out to Bolivia, who rarely received personal attention amid the demands of raising 5 children. Neji often praised her dedication as a mother, telling her that her maternal instincts were one of the things that drew him in. For Bolivia, who didn't often hear praise for her parenting, this validation meant a lot. Within just 3 months, the two were officially a couple. It felt like the beginning of a beautiful new chapter. Neji gradually became a steady part of Bolivia's life. He started by getting to know her older children, easing into their routines before becoming a regular presence on weekends. He offered hands-on support, giving rides to the kids, helping with the groceries, and even pitching in financially when he could. To many, he seemed like a supportive and dependable figure, someone genuinely invested in Bolivia and her family's well-being. It wasn't long before the couple learned they were expecting a new addition to the family. Bolivia found out she was pregnant with Neji's child. At first, she felt overwhelmed. Adding a 6th child to an already full house meant even tighter finances, less space, and more responsibilities. But once the initial shock had settled, Bolivia met the moment with her usual strength and unwavering commitment to her family. Her children had mixed reactions. The youngest didn't quite understand what a new baby meant, while the older ones showed curiosity and even excitement, especially at the idea of helping out with a new baby brother. But Bolivia made sure to ease their worries with gentle reassurance. As her pregnancy moved into the 2nd trimester, Bolivia got to work preparing for the new arrival. She cleared out a corner of their small dining area, transforming it into a cozy makeshift nursery. From the outside, Bolivia and Neji seemed to share a practical partnership rooted in mutual benefit. He gave the support she deeply needed, while she brought him a sense of family and stability. However, beneath this arrangement was something even Bolivia wasn't prepared for. Neji's involvement in Bolivia's life quickly became inconsistent. Some weeks he was fully present, helping out around the house, checking in frequently, and playing the part of a supportive partner. Other weeks, he disappeared without explanation, leaving Bolivia to juggle everything alone. Bolivia, who had always been deeply invested in her relationships, gave it her all. Neji, on the other hand, kept his emotional distance. Friends began to notice changes in Bolivia. She was altering her appearance to suit his tastes, rearranging her schedule to be more available, and even pulling back some of her closest friendships. It was clear she was doing everything she could to make the relationship work. Little did Bolivia know, there was more to Neji's control. The relationship operated on his terms, with Bolivia often adjusting her behavior to avoid conflict and keep the support he offered her family. Neji showed intense jealousy over her interactions with men, even her children's teachers. He frequently checked her phone and questioned her whereabouts. He'd stir up conflict, shut down emotionally to punish her, then come back with over-the-top affection once she apologized, often for things that weren't her fault. But it wasn't just her who was suffering. His interactions with her children revealed deeper issues. He played favorites, setting different standards for each child, which led to growing tension at home. When upset with Bolivia, he sometimes withheld affection from the kids as well. Financial control crept in slowly. Neji began by covering bills, then used that support as leverage during arguments. Bolivia's isolation deepened as she skipped family events if Neji couldn't go, gradually cutting herself off from the very support system she needed most. On May 19, 2024, Bolivia and Neji hosted a gender reveal in her backyard, a small gathering of close friends and family. Blue confetti poppers burst in the air, and a cake with "It's a boy" and blue icing confirmed the baby's gender. Bolivia looked radiant in her photos, her hand resting protectively on her belly. She had already chosen a name, Isaiah James. Those who were there couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. Neji's expression told a different story. While he smiled, it didn't reach his eyes. He stood slightly apart as loved ones embraced Bolivia. Guests noticed his distant behavior, minimal interaction, and constant glances at his phone. Bolivia took his quiet demeanor as nerves about fatherhood, but for Neji, the celebration marked a turning point. One where the pregnancy became undeniably real and the weight of performance began to sink in. After the celebration, Bolivia started discussing practical matters, adding Neji's name to the birth certificate and potential child support arrangements. But these conversations clashed with Neji's apparent preference to keep the relationship casual and undefined. But what happened next would set off a chain of events that no one could have imagined. June 4th began like any other day for Bolivia. She did school drop-offs at 7:30 a.m., attended a 10 a.m. prenatal appointment where she learned her baby boy was developing well, then she went grocery shopping. Phone records show 3 calls with Neji between 2:15 and 4:30 p.m. By 6 p.m., Bolivia had a home-cooked dinner ready. Her mother, Peggy, had taken the 2 youngest kids for the evening, leaving Bolivia with her 3 older children. Neighbors reported seeing Neji pull up around 7:15 p.m. in his black sedan. At 7:45 p.m., Bolivia's oldest child left to stay with a friend for a school project. The remaining 2 kids were watching TV in a back bedroom. At approximately 8:33 p.m., police responded to a 911 call from a frantic neighbor. "I just heard 4 or 5 gunshots from next door. It's the house with the blue shutters on Dixon Road." Just 3 minutes later, another call came in, this time from Bolivia's 12-year-old son. "Someone shot my mom. Please hurry, she's bleeding a lot." The dispatcher stayed on the line, guiding him to apply pressure to her wounds. The panic in the boy's voice led the dispatcher to upgrade the call to the highest priority. When deputies arrived at the scene, they made a heartbreaking discovery. Police arrived at the home at 8:41 p.m., followed by paramedics at 8:44 p.m. Inside the living room, they found 33-year-old pregnant Bolivia Williams suffering from multiple gunshot wounds to her chest and abdomen. Her 2 children, ages 12 and 10, were by her side following the dispatcher's instructions and doing their best to help. Paramedics worked quickly to stabilize Bolivia and most especially her baby, but when their efforts failed, they made the urgent decision to transport her to Columbus Regional Healthcare System. Despite every attempt to save her, both Bolivia and her unborn son were pronounced dead at 9:38 p.m. The 2 children were brought to the sheriff's office, where child specialists gently interviewed them while awaiting their grandmother. Their accounts revealed key details about the argument that unfolded before the shooting. Police quickly launched an investigation into the tragic incident, seeking answers at the crime scene. Investigators noted blood had soaked through the living room carpet and splattered across family photos on the wall. 5 9mm shell casings were also recovered, and the front door showed no signs of forced entry, indicating Bolivia likely knew her attacker. In the kitchen, 2 untouched dinner plates and partially filled glasses suggested the evening had started calmly. Bolivia's purse was emptied on the counter, with her wallet still containing cash but her car keys missing. A broken picture frame displaying a photo from the recent gender reveal lay shattered on the floor. But it was what the people next door revealed that surprised investigators. Neighbors provided crucial details during questioning. One neighbor reported hearing raised voices from inside the house at around 8:20 p.m., followed by multiple gunshots at 8:32. Another neighbor stated they saw Neji leave the house a few minutes after the gunshots, briefly return inside, and then leave again by 8:40, driving off in Bolivia's SUV. Armed with those first-hand accounts, investigators knew they had to move fast. Immediately, deputies secured the crime scene and issued a bolo, or be on the lookout, for both Neji and Bolivia's stolen Subaru Forester. Investigators began canvassing the neighborhood, collecting doorbell camera footage that captured Neji's arrival and hasty departure. By midnight, a task force was formed to locate Neji. Surveillance was set up at his known residences, workplace, and frequent spots, while Border Patrol was notified to prevent him from fleeing the country. Meanwhile, after fleeing Bolivia's home, Neji's movements became erratic but intentional. Traffic cameras captured him running a red light at 8:43 p.m., just minutes after the shooting. He avoided main highways, opting instead for back roads through Columbus County. Gas station footage captured Neji at 9:17 purchasing a prepaid phone, water, and energy drinks, paying with cash to avoid traceable card transactions. The attendant later noted that Neji appeared calm but kept glancing outside the vehicle. By 10:30, cell tower data placed him roughly 45 miles from the crime scene, heading towards South Carolina. Ironically, Neji's bid to cover his tracks only handed investigators their most crucial lead. Neji made 3 calls from his original phone before discarding it in a roadside ditch. Investigators later recovered the phone using GPS data. Instead of continuing south, Neji unexpectedly doubled back toward Wilmington, North Carolina, suggesting he had a predetermined destination rather than fleeing randomly. This route change temporarily confused authorities, but Neji's decision to take Bolivia's gold 2006 Subaru Forester instead of his own vehicle revealed both opportunity and strategy. Investigators concluded that the car theft served 2 purposes. First, to provide transportation, and second, to make his own vehicle untraceable. Secondly, the Subaru contained practical resources, including emergency supplies that Bolivia kept for her children, such as a first aid kit, blankets, and non-perishable food. These provisions extended Neji's ability to avoid public stops. At some point during his escape, he removed the vehicle's license plate and replaced it with a temporary tag stolen from a dealership lot. But more telling than the swapped plates or stashed supplies was what remained on Bolivia's phone. This switch went unnoticed until after his capture, explaining how he avoided detection by automated plate readers. Inside the vehicle, investigators discovered Bolivia's phone, which Neji had used to delete text conversations between them before abandoning her phone in the center console. The SUV's GPS history revealed stops at an ATM, a discount store, and a remote wooded area where evidence was likely discarded. Neji's physical transformation began about 3 hours after the murder. Security footage from a 24-hour discount store showed him purchasing scissors, hair clippers, a baseball cap, and new clothes at 11:42 p.m. In the store's bathroom, Neji cut off his distinctive shoulder-length dreadlocks, which had been his signature style for years. He disposed of the hair in various trash cans throughout the store to prevent it from being found together. The store manager discovered the hair remnants during morning cleaning and contacted authorities after seeing news reports. This drastic change altered his appearance significantly. A comparison between his driver's license photo and post-haircut images revealed a dramatically different person. In addition to the haircut, Neji changed his usual clothing style, abandoning his preference for bright colors and brand-name items in favor of more nondescript attire. He also removed several recognizable gold chains and a watch that friends had associated with him. At 1:17 a.m. on June 5th, approximately 5 hours after the murder, Neji made his only public statement via a cryptic Facebook post. "You post to love me, but gone thug me." This message became a crucial piece of evidence regarding his mindset. The phrase suggested feelings of betrayal, indicating that Neji believed Bolivia had wronged him despite his feelings for her. The post drew immediate responses from friends who were still unaware of the tragic events that had unfolded. Some expressed concern, others confusion, with a few simply asking if Neji was okay. He didn't respond to any comments, but investigators confirmed he viewed the replies. His account remained active for several hours afterward. By dawn, the search for Neji had expanded, now involving multiple agencies, including the Bladen County Sheriff's Office, the North Carolina State Bureau of Investigation, and neighboring law enforcement departments. A command center was quickly established at the Bladen County Justice Complex to coordinate the growing flow of information. Highway patrol officers set up rolling checkpoints on key roads exiting the area, while investigators began reaching out to Neji's family members. Though none admitted to knowing his whereabouts, some shared useful information about places he might hide or people he might contact. His bank accounts were placed on alert for suspicious activity, though it became clear he was relying solely on cash. Media outlets aired his description repeatedly, especially noting his altered appearance without the dreadlocks. The public responded quickly, flooding hotlines with over 40 reported sightings. The medical examiner recovered bullet fragments during Bolivia's autopsy, confirming they were consistent with a 9mm caliber weapon, the same type used in the shooting. Forensic technicians restored deleted text messages from Bolivia's phone, revealing escalating arguments and increasingly hostile exchanges in the days leading up to her death. Wi-Fi data from her home router showed Neji's device had connected during specific timeframes, placing him at the residence. Meanwhile, a search of Neji's personal computer seized from his apartment uncovered an alarming browser history. He had looked up topics like how to disappear in counties without extradition, with searches dating back 2 weeks before the murder. It was a disturbing pattern, clear signs of premeditation. Despite Neji's efforts to change his appearance and evade capture, the breakthrough came through a combination of tech and classic police work. Around 5:30 a.m. on June 5th, a convenience store clerk in Brunswick County recognized Neji despite the haircut and clothing changes. Although the clerk waited until Neji left to contact police, they were able to provide key details, the direction he was headed, and confirmation that he was still driving Bolivia's gold Subaru. Around the same time, investigators uncovered that Neji had reached out to a former coworker, asking for a place to stay under the pretense of having relationship problems. The coworker grew suspicious after seeing news reports and immediately contacted authorities. Then the most crucial lead of all came in, one that would finally bring the manhunt closer to its end. At 11:23 a.m., Neji attempted to withdraw money from an ATM using his debit card, an electronic breadcrumb that pinpointed his location, and officers quickly tracked him to a Wilmington motel where he had checked in under his cousin's name. A coordinated plan was put in motion to ensure a safe arrest. At 3:15 p.m., tactical officers apprehended Neji as he returned to the motel room. He surrendered without incident, appearing worn down and defeated. A loaded 9mm handgun was recovered from Bolivia's stolen vehicle, the same firearm later confirmed through ballistic testing as the murder weapon. Neji remained silent during transport to Bladen County, invoking his right to legal counsel. Prosecutors swiftly filed multiple charges: first-degree murder, murder of an unborn child, felony discharge of a weapon into occupied property, robbery with a dangerous weapon, and motor vehicle theft. Given the severity of the crimes and his attempt to flee, a judge ordered Neji held without bond. On June 27, 2024, during his arraignment, the district attorney formally charged Neji Devon Leach with 6 felony counts, each carrying the possibility of life in prison or the death penalty. Beyond the charges of first-degree murder and murder of an unborn child, Neji also faced counts of possession of a firearm by a felon based on a 2019 conviction for assault, along with grand theft auto, felony discharge of a weapon into occupied property, and tampering with evidence. Each charge carried its own penalty, and together, the potential sentence exceeded multiple life terms. Prosecutors made it clear they would pursue every charge independently and would not entertain plea deals. They cited the premeditated nature of the crimes and Neji's extensive efforts to avoid arrest as justification. Under North Carolina law, specific aggravating factors can elevate a murder case to qualify for capital punishment. The district attorney listed 3. First, the murder was committed during the commission of another felony. Second, the victim was pregnant, and third, the crime displayed exceptional cruelty. A special hearing was set for August 2024 to decide whether prosecutors will officially seek the death penalty. Najee's defense team preemptively filed motions contesting the constitutionality of capital punishment, referencing previously undiagnosed mental health conditions. The outcome of that hearing will significantly affect the case's timeline. Capital cases typically take 3 times longer to resolve, prolonging justice and closure for Bolivia's grieving family. On Saturday, June 15th, at around 1 p.m., a funeral service was held for Bolivia at Central Baptist Church in Whiteville, North Carolina. It was a deeply emotional gathering as family, friends, and members of the community came together to honor her life and mourn her tragic passing. Bolivia's mother, Peggy Blanks, took on guardianship of all 5 of Bolivia's children, moving them into her small 2-bedroom home while actively searching for a larger space. In a show of solidarity, Regalwood residents held a candlelight vigil that drew more than 300 attendees. Local businesses also rallied behind the family, helping establish a trust fund that raised $47,000 in just 2 weeks. Peggy also launched a GoFundMe campaign to seek additional support for the children's ongoing care, funeral costs, and their future needs, ensuring Bolivia's kids have the stability and resources to move forward despite the loss of their beloved mother. On January 24th, 2024, tragedy struck Toledo, Ohio, when 34-year-old and 8-month pregnant Tamisha Price was discovered dead at around 5 a.m. in the 5300 block of Norton Place. Tamisha was getting ready to give birth to a baby girl she had already named Malaysia Leonie Price, but her husband wasn't ready for a child. He requested Tamisha multiple times to get rid of the unborn baby, which she refused. Her life was taken not only by the man she loved, but by the combined efforts of him and his friends in a very shocking manner. This is the heartbreaking story of Tamisha Price. Before we begin, we would love to extend our deepest condolences to the family and friends of Tamisha and everyone affected by the murder on that fateful day. This story takes us all the way to Toledo, Ohio, a city known for its rich history and manufacturing legacy. And it is in this city, with irregularities in crime rates, that we find the very person of Tamisha Price. Tamisha Jakira Price, affectionately known as Misha, was born on May 22, 1989 in Toledo, Ohio, to Tyler and Stacy Price. Growing up in a supportive family, she was the youngest and only girl of 4 siblings. Tamisha attended Rogers High School and Apostolic Christian Academy. She pursued higher education in the medical field at Herzing University, reflecting her passion for caring for others. But that was not all. Throughout her career, Tamisha worked in roles that showed her dedication to youth and community service. She served as an administrator at Sunbridge Charter and AEE Charter Schools, and as a lead case manager at New Concepts, where she empowered young people to achieve their potential. But Tamisha's passion didn't stop there. It was only the beginning of a life filled with purpose and surprises. A devout Christian, Tamisha actively served in her church community, starting at Pinewood Tabernacle Church before joining Upton United Methodist Church and Life Changes Church. Her love for the arts shone through her involvement in youth choir performances and church activities. Yet, behind her vibrant, busy life was a surprising challenge, one that few could have managed so gracefully. Tamisha entered a significant relationship in her early 20s, filled with hope for a bright future. And as their bond deepened, the relationship brought both joy and challenges. In time, they welcomed their 2 sons, Jaden Keyshawn and Leslie Michael, who became the center of Tamisha's world. While Leslie loved basketball, Jaden found his path in drumming. In fact, Jaden was so good at drumming that his father saw it as an avenue to tap from his talent and bring the best version of him. This they achieved with their frequent music lessons together, with the father being supportive enough to keep the children this busy. And as they also grew older, Tamisha decided to use this opportunity to pursue more profitable ventures that most people could only dream of. She decided to go next level with her love for fashion, shopping, and traveling, and she found the most effective way to showcase her style through content creation.
Hello?
What are you doing?
Who is this?
Don't worry about who it is. I can see you. Enough is enough.
Tamisha seemed to have it all, not until her perfect life came to a halt. As the years passed, the partnership grew strained, and balancing the demands of a troubled relationship with the responsibilities of motherhood tested her resilience. When the challenges became overwhelming, Tamisha made the difficult choice to leave, determined to create a better life for herself and her children. And against the odds, this didn't deter Tamisha, and so she made a bold decision. After the breakup, Tamisha channeled her energy into rebuilding her life. She worked tirelessly to provide for Jaden and Leslie, while continuing her impactful work in education and youth services. Her resolve to create a stable, nurturing environment for her boys showed her resilience, but her journey was far from over. During this time of transition, Tamisha met Paris James, and although his past was marred by mostly police disturbances, their relationship blossomed through shared values and mutual respect. Tamisha didn't allow his past to come between them, and Paris admired Tamisha's strength as a mother and the passion she poured into her community. As their bond deepened, hope returned to Tamisha's life in a way she hadn't expected. Their love grew until late 2023, when Tamisha found herself preparing to welcome a new joy into their lives. She became pregnant with a daughter, and she planned to name her Malaysia Leonie Price. She treated the baby as a blessing that filled her with excitement and dreams for the future. But as she celebrated this new chapter, she could not have foreseen the challenges that lay ahead. We suddenly say the challenges that lay ahead because this was when Tamisha's world finally began to fall apart. Paris wasn't ready to be a father, and he made this pretty evident to Tamisha in the most degrading manner ever. He accused her of cheating on him and questioned the paternity of the child. This was really shocking considering the fact that Tamisha openly expressed the fact that she knew no other man apart from Paris, but not as shocking as what was about to unfold. Tamisha, still excited about her baby and not allowing Paris's assumptions to get to her, decided to hold a baby shower 1 month before her due date. She planned to go all out about it, and since it wasn't her first child, it probably may have raised questions from some people, but still, Tamisha went ahead with her plan, unknown to her what lurked in the dark, waiting for her. While the day was drawing closer, her relationship with Paris became more and more distant, with the pair growing further apart with each passing day, with Paris being unusually angry, and most times for no reason. While Tamisha made her own plans for the baby shower, Paris had his own plans. Paris had a friend named Jerry Scott, who in turn had a girlfriend named Shatwia Triplet, and together, under the leadership of Paris, they all plotted to end Tamisha's life. However, this would not only come to pass, but will do so in a most bizarre manner. On January 24th, 2024, at around 5 a.m., the quiet neighborhood near the 5300 block of Norton Place in Toledo was disturbed by the sound of gunfire, prompting neighbors to seek the aid of police officers. When police arrived, they found 34-year-old Tamisha Price lying unresponsive on the ground with multiple gunshot wounds. Emergency responders tried to save her, but she was pronounced dead at the scene. And it would interest you to know that this wasn't even the most shocking event of that day. The most shocking and heart-wrenching event of that day was the fact that Tamisha's other sons, Jaden and Leslie, had to watch the incident firsthand. But this, in itself, was soon going to prove useful. This is so because it was soon disclosed how the whole incident transpired. On that fateful morning, Paris and Jerry arrived at Tamisha's home shortly before dawn. They had devised a plan to confront her about their relationship issues. As they approached the house, they were armed with handguns, having discussed their intentions to intimidate Tamisha into submission. Their goal was not only to assert control over her, but also to send a message that she could not easily leave them behind. When Tamisha opened the door, a heated argument erupted. Paris accused her of betrayal and threatened her with violence if she did not comply with his demands. As the confrontation escalated, Jerry joined in, using aggressive language that further provoked Tamisha. Feeling cornered and frightened, she attempted to retreat into her home. In a moment of rage, Paris drew his weapon and fired multiple shots at Tamisha as she tried to escape. Jerry, acting as an accomplice, provided cover for Paris, ensuring that no one would intervene during the attack. The gunfire echoed through the quiet neighborhood, leaving residents stunned and terrified. And that was how she was pronounced dead on the scene. The loss of Tamisha Price and her unborn baby, Malaysia Leonie Price, was devastating news that left her family and friends in shock. As the Toledo Police Department launched an investigation, they worked tirelessly to uncover the truth. Eyewitness accounts and evidence from the scene helped piece together the events leading to her tragic death. Within days, 3 suspects were identified: Paris James, Jerry Scott, and Shatuya Triplett. James, Tamisha's boyfriend, faced charges of aggravated murder, while Scott was accused of similar crimes. Triplett, Jerry Scott's live-in girlfriend, was charged with obstructing justice for allegedly providing a false alibi for James and Scott, which investigators later disproved.
Now, 3 suspects have been indicted in the fatal shooting of a pregnant woman. They are accused in the January killing of 34-year-old Tamisha Price. Take a look. According to court documents, a grand jury indicted Paris James and Jerry Scott on several counts of aggravated murder and felonious assault, among other charges. Shatuya Triplett was also indicted on 2 third-degree felony counts of obstructing justice. All 3 suspects are accused of involvement in the homicide of Price, whose unborn child was also killed in the shooting. According to court documents, detectives say Scott did participate in the planning and execution of the plan that resulted in Price's death. Those documents also indicate that Triplett, who detectives said is James's live-in girlfriend, provided an alibi for James that was later proven to be false.
Paris James and Jerry Scott were subsequently indicted on 5 counts of aggravated murder, 4 counts of murder, 1 count of aggravated burglary, 2 counts of felonious assault, and 1 count of tampering with evidence. Court documents revealed that Scott had actively participated in planning and carrying out the actions that led to Tamisha's death. As details unfolded, the question remained: what led to this horrifying series of events? The news of Tamisha's death sparked conversations about domestic and gun violence in Toledo. Vigils were held to honor Tamisha's memory, with loved ones sharing stories of her dedication to her children and the community. In this story, a man killed his pregnant girlfriend, a tragedy that ended 2 lives. But the next story is an even sadder story about a woman expecting twins who was killed along with both her unborn babies. 3 lives were lost in an instant. This is the story of Darion Burley, a woman who believed she had it all: a loving boyfriend and a bright future. Life seemed perfect, especially after celebrating a gender reveal party for the she was expecting. But on June 29, 2020, that happiness was shattered beyond everyone's wildest expectations. After breakfast with her boyfriend, Darion decided to rest. Out of nowhere, he pulled a gun and shot her in the back of the head, ending her life instantly. As horrifying as this was, what he did next on his way to bury her body was even more shocking. This is the tragic story of Darion Burley. This story takes us all the way to Fort Worth, Texas, a city with a rich Western heritage. And it's in this city that Darion Burley happened to find herself in. Darion Sherelle Burley was born on July 14, 1993 in Fort Worth, Texas, to Olga King Burley and Daryl Burley, where she was the 4th of 6 children in her family. Darion's education was one with lots of highlights, but only a few recorded. She pursued her education at Connors State College in Muskogee, Oklahoma, where she earned an associate's degree. Darion Burley was attending a local community event in Fort Worth, Texas, focused on promoting youth empowerment and education. As an active member of her community, she was excited to engage with others who shared her passion for making a difference. While volunteering at a booth, Darion noticed Maurice Kelso Smith across the way. He was helping out with a basketball clinic for kids, effortlessly demonstrating his skills and encouraging the young athletes. Intrigued by his enthusiasm and charm, Darion decided to approach him during a break. They bonded over their shared passion for community service and youth mentorship. Maurice dreamed of starting a nonprofit for underprivileged youth, while Darion shared her work with local charities. Over the following weeks, They crossed paths at various community events, their connection growing stronger with each encounter. Their shared passion for uplifting their neighborhood brought them closer as they collaborated on projects and spent weekends volunteering side by side. As their bond deepened, they began to envision a future together, built on love and shared dreams. Little did they know, this was only the start of a journey that would bring unexpected twists and turns. The relationship, like every normal relationship, had its ups and downs. However, the pair still found a way to each other on every occasion, proving how committed they were to staying together. And then came the big news. Darion was pregnant with twins. The news brought a mix of shock and excitement, and the couple celebrated with joy. The boy eagerly anticipated the joy of having not just a baby, but 2 babies. But beneath the happiness, cracks in their relationship began to form, hinting at a darker side soon to emerge. But first, Maurice had a big plan put in place. It was a gender reveal party, organized to celebrate the arrival of their twin sons. The gender reveal party for Darion Burley and Maurice Smith was a joyful celebration held in May 2020, marking the anticipation of their twin boys. Family and friends gathered to share in the excitement, creating a vibrant atmosphere filled with love and hope for the future. Guests were treated to decorations in shades of blue, symbolizing the boys they were expecting. The couple revealed their attention, with Maurice expressing his love and commitment to Darion during the festivities. The event featured a cake that, when cut, revealed the blue frosting inside, confirming the gender of their twins. Darion even went as far as practicing for when her water broke, saying stuff like, "Oh, my water just broke," followed by laughter and cheers that filled the air as everyone celebrated this significant milestone in Darion's life. However, this moment of happiness was tragically overshadowed by the events that would unfold just weeks later. Still, Darion, who had no idea what was coming, continued celebrating the incoming babies, with posts such as this, where she was looking for a very good photographer, and her followers recommended many photographers in the comment section of this post. She also had so many promises kept for them. In a real sense, it could be said that these kids were coming into a world already prepared for them. Simply put, they were the most lucky kids yet to be born. However, these kids would never be born. For reasons likely tied to his growing addiction to hard substances, Maurice Smith, a convicted felon prohibited from owning a gun, decided to acquire one through a friend who was legally qualified to purchase it. Perhaps even Maurice couldn't foresee the havoc the weapon would cause, but he bought it anyway. Soon enough, the worst happened. On the evening of June 29, 2020, the atmosphere in the Darion Burley and Maurice Smith home shifted dramatically from the joy of their recent gender reveal party to a scene of unimaginable tragedy. Just weeks after celebrating the impending arrival of their twin boys, the couple found themselves embroiled in a violent confrontation that would end in heartbreak. The day had begun like any other, with Darion excitedly preparing for the arrival of her babies. However, underlying tensions had been building in their relationship. Friends and family had expressed concerns about Maurice's behavior and substance use in the weeks leading up to this fateful night. Despite the anticipation of parenthood, there were signs that all was not well. As evening fell, an argument erupted between Darion and Maurice. Witnesses later recounted hearing raised voices coming from their home, indicating a conflict that escalated quickly. The argument was fueled by Maurice's struggles with anger and addiction, creating a volatile environment. In a sudden and horrifying turn of events, Maurice reached for a gun. In a moment of rage and desperation, he shot Darion in the back of the head. The sound of the gunshot shattered the quietness of the night, leaving no room for doubt about the severity of the situation. Darion fell instantly, her life extinguished in an act of violence that would also claim the lives of her unborn twins. The tragedy unfolded in mere moments, transforming what should have been a time of joy into an irreversible nightmare. After the shooting, Maurice Smith, desperate to cover his tracks, fled the scene in a panic. Knowing his actions had changed everything, he tried to distance himself from the crime. He drove away from the Fort Worth, Texas home, adrenaline pumping until he reached Mansfield, Texas. There, in a moment of desperation, he committed a carjacking at gunpoint. He stole a Honda Civic from a woman, threatening her with a firearm before speeding off in her vehicle. The victim later described the terror she felt as Maurice fled the scene, a scene so horrific that even the police, upon discovering it later, wished they hadn't seen it. Meanwhile, police were alerted to both the carjacking and the shooting. When officers arrived at Darion's home, they found her lifeless body slumped in the passenger seat of her car, parked outside. The scene was devastating. Darion, an expectant mother, was still dressed in the clothes she had chosen that day, a heart-breaking reminder of the life she had been preparing for. Between her body and the console lay a crumpled sonogram picture of her unborn twins, a haunting symbol of dreams that would never be realized. Detectives quickly began piecing together the timeline of events, where they made some utterly unbelievable discoveries. They discovered that Maurice had returned to his apartment after committing both crimes. In an attempt to cover his tracks, he tried to clean up evidence inside the stolen car and destroy any incriminating items that could link him to Darion's murder. However, investigators were already closing in on him. As police conducted their investigation, they found blood-stained clothing discarded in Maurice's apartment. They also located the murder weapon, a gun that had been purchased illegally just a day prior to the shooting. This evidence painted a clear picture of premeditated violence and raised questions about Maurice's mental state leading up to that fateful night. Maurice Smith was arrested and charged with capital murder for the deaths of Darion and their unborn twins. His trial began several months later and drew significant media attention due to the shocking nature of the crime and its impact on the community. During the proceedings, prosecutors presented evidence showing a pattern of abuse in Maurice's behavior toward Darion. Friends and family members testified about their concerns for her safety in the weeks leading up to her death, recounting instances where they witnessed Maurice's aggressive behavior and substance abuse. The courtroom was filled with emotion as Darion's family members spoke about their profound grief and loss, the dreams they had for Darion as a mother, and how her absence would forever alter their lives. The emotional weight of their words resonated deeply with everyone present. Ultimately, Maurice Smith was found guilty of capital murder and sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. The verdict brought some measure of closure to Darion's family, but could never fully alleviate their pain or replace what had been lost. In March 2024, the verdict in Maurice Smith's trial brought a mixture of sorrow and reflection for Darion Burley's family and community. In court, her family expressed their immense grief through victim impact statements, describing the deep void left by her loss. One family member captured the sentiment, saying, "There are no winners here," emphasizing the irreversible consequences of Maurice's actions. They spoke of the dreams and future Darion and her unborn twins would never have, highlighting the life stolen from them. The tragedy went far beyond her family. Friends remembered Darion's joy and excitement about her becoming a mother, sharing their heartbreak over her love for her twins. Many voiced anger toward Maurice Smith, blaming him for destroying not only Darion's life, but the potential lives of her children. The community united to honor her memory through vigils and memorials, creating spaces for collective mourning and support. The murder sparked a renewed focus on domestic violence awareness in Fort Worth.
Well, good evening, guys. The family members have just confirmed that Nakaya was 8 months pregnant with baby Noah, and now this comes right after the family just threw her a baby shower over the weekend. Now, 2 lives have been cut short, and we want to warn you that the details in this investigation can be very disturbing.
On December 13th, 2022, the burning body of a 36-week pregnant young woman was discovered inside a city trash bin in Fresno, California. The pregnant woman was 26-year-old Nakaya Rebecca Logan, who was found in flames with multiple wounds on her body after just celebrating her baby shower.
She held a baby shower just 2 days before she was killed.
She was really happy, and I was supposed to be the godmom of the baby.
The killer disappeared completely until the detectives and witnesses in the community worked together to find the killer. The reason he killed this innocent woman is very gut-wrenching.
It is my anticipation that the people will be filing 2 counts of first-degree murder in this case with special circumstances that will make this defendant eligible for the death penalty.
Smith Camp's office will be determining whether or not they'll be pursuing the death penalty. If not, Aaron Dudley could be facing life in prison without the possibility of parole.
This is the heartbreaking story of Nakia Rebecca Logan. Fresno, California, is the 5th largest city in the state, situated in the heart of the San Joaquin Valley, known as the agricultural capital of California. This city of roughly 500,000 people has long struggled with crime rates significantly above the national average. By December 2022, the city had already recorded 56 homicides, reflecting a troubling pattern of violent crime that had plagued the community. When Nakia Logan and her unborn son became the city's 57th and 58th homicide victims of the year, their deaths highlighted a particularly disturbing trend noted by Police Chief Paco Valderrama, as they were among 5 babies murdered in similar circumstances that year alone. The neighborhood where the crime occurred, near Cornelia Street and Parkway Drive in northwest Fresno, was a mixed residential area with apartment complexes and family homes, an ordinary community that would become the setting for an extraordinary tragedy. Nakia Rebecca Logan was born and raised in Fresno, California, where she would live all 26 years of her life. She grew up in a family home she shared with her mother and her older brother Aaron, who was 15 years her senior. Despite the significant age gap, they all lived under the same roof, a living arrangement that would ultimately prove fatal. From her early years, Nakia showed promise and determination. During her middle school and high school years, she was a cheerleader, forming close bonds with friends like Alexander Torres, with whom she shared nearly identical birthdays. Those who knew her then remember a young woman who just lightens up every room that she walks into, with an infectious smile and laugh.
She was always laughing, she was always smiling. She was just a bundle of light.
Her educational journey content to stop there. She continued her education, pursuing studies to become a child care worker while simultaneously working toward her RN degree. Her friends described her as someone who was always looking to better herself and help others. At work, Nakia was known for being lovable and caring, with a personality that drew people to her. She managed a private personal life and focused on her goals. Unlike many of her peers, she was selective about what she shared on social media, though her accounts revealed a sports enthusiast who loved the San Francisco 49ers and LA Lakers, and a music lover who enjoyed artists from Mary J. Blige to Trey Songz. By late 2022, Nakia was embarking on what should have been one of the happiest chapters of her life, impending motherhood. At 36 weeks pregnant, she had just celebrated her baby shower on Sunday, December 11th, 2022, surrounded by loving friends and family. She had chosen a name for her son, Noah, and she was so excited. Her friend Alexandria Servant, who was meant to be baby Noah's godmother, recalls how Nakia couldn't wait to become a mother, but just 2 days after celebrating new life at her baby shower. However, what happened on Tuesday, December 13th, would shatter all those dreams. The horror began inside the family home, where Nakia lived with her mother and brother off Cornelia and Parkway Avenues. What started as an ordinary December afternoon would soon turn into a nightmare that would shock the entire community. In a brutal act of violence, Dudley allegedly attacked his pregnant sister, stabbing her multiple times with a sharp object. But the horror didn't end there. What happened next would reveal a level of calculated evil that would stun even experienced investigators. After the brutal stabbing, Dudley allegedly took his sister's body into the garage in what police would later describe as a carefully planned sequence of events. He placed her body inside a city garbage dumpster, but his attempts to cover up his crimes were far from over. As surveillance cameras would later reveal, Dudley began pushing the dumpster through the neighborhood streets, a chilling journey that would span 4 blocks. Around 12:30 p.m., in an unpaved alley on the 4400 block of North Cornelia Street, near an apartment complex, Dudley's evil procession came to an end. There, he poured gasoline over his sister's body and set it ablaze, the flames consuming both Nakia and her unborn child. The first signs of alarm came when maintenance workers at the nearby apartment complex noticed the unusual fire. Acting quickly, they approached with a fire extinguisher, likely not expecting the horror they would discover. As they extinguished the flames, the tragic reality became clear. This was no ordinary fire, but something far more disturbing. The maintenance workers immediately contacted authorities, and both the Fresno Fire Department and Police Department rushed to the scene. But what they found would mark the beginning of one of the most disturbing cases in recent Fresno history: the body of a clearly pregnant woman, brutally stabbed and deliberately set on fire.
Here's the scene of where Nkaya Logan's body was discovered on the 4400 block of North Cornelia. Fresno police received several 911 calls for reports of a person set on fire in this alley. First responders arriving minutes later, pronouncing Nkaya dead at just after noon.
But while first responders were still processing the initial scene, something extraordinary happened. A witness came forward with evidence that stunned everyone. They had managed to capture a photograph of someone standing over the burning body. This single piece of evidence would prove instrumental in the investigation that followed. As detectives began piecing together the timeline, the evidence began painting a disturbing picture of a well-planned and calculated violence. Surveillance cameras from the apartment complex had captured clear footage of someone pushing a city garbage dumpster through the neighborhood, footage that would later prove crucial in identifying the perpetrator. Meanwhile, another witness came forward with a critical observation. They had seen a suspicious person pushing a city garbage dumpster to the dirt road near the apartment complex on Cornelia Street and Parkway Drive, then lighting its contents on fire. At the time, the witness thought someone was simply burning trash, an assumption that would prove tragically incorrect. The investigation took a decisive turn when detectives were able to trace the path of the garbage dumpster back to Nkaya's home. What they found there would break the case wide open. Evidence at the scene suggested that the brutal attack had occurred inside the house, the place where Nkaya should have felt safest. But perhaps most chilling was what investigators discovered about the family's history. During their investigation, it emerged that police had previously been called to the home on July 28, 2021, when Nkaya had expressed fear for her safety. This wasn't just a random act of violence. It was the height of a pattern of concerning behavior that had gone unchecked for too long. As Police Chief Paco Balderrama would later note, the evidence pointed to extensive planning. Every step, from the initial attack to the attempted destruction of evidence, showed a calculated attempt to commit and cover up the crime. The multiple stab wounds, the use of the garbage dumpster, the gasoline, the fire, none of it was random. Each element suggested a calculated and intentional plan carried out with chilling precision. The hunt for Nkaya's killer started with two key pieces of evidence: a witness's photo of someone standing over a burning body and security camera footage showing a person pushing a garbage dumpster through the neighborhood. But what investigators discovered next would change everything. As detectives pieced together the timeline, something happened that stunned everyone. Aaron Dudley, who was 41 years old, tried to run away. Police Chief Paco Balderrama later said this was exactly what guilty people often do. Officers quickly caught Dudley and arrested him. But then, a single clue brought the case into sharp focus. When police searched the house, they found evidence that Nkaya had been attacked there, along with signs that someone had tried to clean it up. Meanwhile, another piece of the puzzle was falling into place. The police learned something troubling about Dudley's past. About a year and a half earlier, on July 28, 2021, police had been called to the same house. Dudley had been sent to a mental hospital for 72 hours because he was considered dangerous. Even more concerning, Nkaya had told people she was scared of her brother. Police solved the case the same day they found Nkaya's body, and with that, the pieces finally fit together. Police Chief Balderrama pointed out that everything Dudley did, from getting rid of evidence to trying to run from police, showed he knew exactly what he was doing, regardless of any mental health claims.
This is a person who had the wherewithal to try to clean up the evidence, try to dispose of the body, ran when the police came to knock on the door to see what was going on. So this is not somebody who does not know what he's doing.
But justice would not come easily, and what happened next in court shocked everyone. The Fresno County District Attorney, Lisa A. Smitkamp, said they were charging Aaron Dudley with 2 murders, one for Nkaya and one for her unborn baby, Noah. Under California law, killing an unborn baby is murder. Because of how serious these charges were, Dudley could face the death penalty. However, the most shocking revelation was yet to come. When Dudley first went to court, he wore a red jumpsuit and handcuffs and pleaded not guilty. As the case against Aaron Dudley proceeds through the legal system, the community continues to mourn the loss of a young woman described as being full of light and just laughter, and the baby boy who never got to experience his mother's love.
That was my son. The actions were not him. I loved him. I did not love his actions. I love my daughter. It's a hard situation for any mother to have to go through.
Justice for Nakiah and baby Noah remains pending, as we hope it prevails sooner rather than later. While the tragic case of Nakiah Logan reveals the devastating betrayal of a brother turning against his own sister, another heartbreaking story emerged just months before in New York City, where a mother's joyous celebration would end in an unthinkable manner.
Dozens of people are out here just trying to support this family. We're hearing prayer. We're seeing folks hug each other just to give this family a sense of peace.
How dare someone shoot a mom with a 8.5-month pregnant baby?
On September 12, 2021, a woman was fatally struck by gunfire outside her apartment building on West 128th Street and Frederick Douglass Boulevard in Harlem, New York. The woman was 31-year-old Chenise Young, who was 8.5 months pregnant, critically wounded in the head while returning from her own baby shower. Her 2 children watched the tragedy unfold from inside a car. Young was not only a mother to her 2 daughters, but also acted as a caretaker to her younger siblings after their mother passed away from ovarian cancer. The killer disappeared completely until the detectives and the community worked together to find the killer. The reason he killed this innocent woman is so heartbreaking. This is the tragic story of Chenise Young. By the way, if you like the way I present these stories or if true crime cases are your kind of thing, please like the video and consider subscribing to the channel for more stories. Meanwhile, in the heart of New York City, our story unfolds in one of America's most vibrant neighborhoods, the Bronx. Despite being home to over 1.4 million people, making it the 3rd most densely populated county in America, there was one particular corner that would soon become the center of this tragic tale. At the intersection of West 128th Street and Frederick Douglass Boulevard in Manhattan, life moved at the usual New York pace. Neighbors greeting each other on their way back to work, local shops buzzing with activity and children playing on the sidewalks. But what happened on these familiar streets would leave the entire community reeling. Little did anyone know that behind this tragedy was a story of extraordinary strength and sacrifice. At just 31 years old, Chenise Young had already touched more lives than most people do in a lifetime. A devoted mother of 2 young daughters, her nurturing spirit extended far beyond her own children. When cancer claimed her mother's life, Chenise didn't hesitate to step into a new role of becoming mother and sister to her younger siblings. 3 years earlier, she had moved into the building to care for her sick mother, revealing the selfless character that defined her. The spirit of maternal nurturing extended far beyond her family circle. Chenise was just 5 days away from welcoming her 3rd child into the world. Her excitement was contagious. Throughout the neighborhood, she was known as someone who would never turn away a person in need, offering food, water, or even the coat off her back to help others stay warm. However, no one could have predicted how her story of compassion would end in such heartbreak. What started as one of the happiest nights of Chenise's life would soon turn into a nightmare. It was September 12th, just after 1 a.m. Chenise had just finished celebrating her baby shower, and everyone was still feeling happy from the party. She was doing what an expectant mother would do, taking gift bags and boxes from her car into her building. The bags were full of baby clothes and things for her new baby who was coming soon. But then, something happened that would change everything. 2 men showed up on the sidewalk. One was Justin Soriano, Chenise's ex-boyfriend. The other was her current boyfriend, who was the father of her unborn baby. They started yelling at each other, breaking the quiet of the night. What happened next would shock everyone who saw it. Chenise tried to stop the fight, just like she always did when people had problems. She walked up to Soriano and asked him what he was doing there. She was trying to make peace between the 2 men. Then, in a moment no one expected, Soriano did something terrible. He pulled out a gun without any warning, He pointed it at Chenise's head and pulled the trigger. All of this happened right in front of her children, who were sitting in the car watching. They saw everything happen to their mother on what should have been a happy night. But there was something that made this tragedy even worse. The gifts from the baby shower were scattered on the ground. Tiny onesies, baby bottles, and colorful toys. These were things meant for a future that would never come. Chenise's children screamed from the car as neighbors ran out of their homes to see what had happened. The truth was more heartbreaking than anyone could have imagined. Just hours earlier, Chenise had been opening presents, laughing with friends, and dreaming about her baby's arrival. Now, on the very same night, her life was ending. Meanwhile, across town, emergency calls poured into the NYPD dispatch center. Neighbors were frantically reporting gunshots on West 128th Street. When police arrived, they found Chenise on the ground, not moving, with a gunshot wound to her head. Medical teams raced her to Harlem Hospital, their sirens cutting through the quiet early morning streets. Other officers secured the crime scene, collecting evidence as shocked neighbors gathered behind the yellow police tape, many still in their night clothes, watching in disbelief. But the most shocking revelation was yet to come. Despite everything the doctors tried, their desperate attempts at emergency surgery, their tireless efforts to save 2 lives, they couldn't save Chenise or her unborn baby. Both lives were lost. A mother and her child who were just days away from meeting each other. As detectives pieced together the timeline, a troubling pattern emerged in Chenise's life. The investigation revealed a history of fear and attempts to seek protection through the legal system. But there was one detail that didn't add up, and it changed everything. They discovered not 1, but 3 separate orders of protection that Chenise had filed against Soriano. These legal documents should have kept him far away from her, and violation of any of them could have resulted in his immediate arrest. Then, a witness came forward with a story that stunned everyone. According to their testimony, Soriano hadn't just appeared after the baby shower celebration by chance. He had been methodically stalking Chenise for weeks. Security footage from nearby buildings confirmed the witness's account, showing Soriano lurking near her apartment building on multiple occasions, including the day of the murder. He had been carefully watching her routines, learning her schedule, and waiting for the perfect moment to strike. Little did they know, the story was far from over, as investigators began uncovering even more disturbing evidence of his obsession with Chenise. Just when it seemed like the case had gone cold, a breakthrough arrived. After an intense 4-day manhunt that had kept the entire city on edge, police finally caught Justin Soriano. But what investigators discovered next would change everything. Their suspect wasn't just a first-time offender. Soriano, at age 40, had already had up to an astonishing 17 prior arrests. As detectives pieced together the timeline, they realized they were dealing with a career criminal who had repeatedly slipped through the system's cracks. Then, a witness came forward with a story that stunned everyone. Soriano had been bragging about his ability to evade capture, even as police closed in on his location. However, the most shocking revelation was yet to come. Despite his extensive criminal history, he had managed to stay on the streets, ultimately leading to this tragic confrontation with Chenise. The arrest brought some relief to the grieving community, but the questions about how he had remained free despite his violent history would haunt investigators for years to come.
I'm relieved, but I'm still distraught and sad that he took my daughter's life. You know what I'm saying? I can't get my daughter back, so I'm just numb.
While the family mourned, a wave of grief swept through the neighborhood, transforming their usual busy streets into a place of sober reflection. Outside Chenise's building, a growing memorial of flowers, candles, and heartfelt messages spoke to how deeply she had touched the community. But then, the single voice of Stephanie McGraw, founder of the anti-domestic violence organization, brought the case into sharp focus as she noted that everyone matters and no one deserves to die.
What we need to do is create a policy for 3 strikes you're out domestic violence defenders registry so they can be tracked, because this guy had a serious track record of domestic violence.
And with that, the pieces finally fit together. This wasn't just a singular tragedy, but part of a larger pattern of domestic violence that had plagued their community. McGraw's powerful words echoed through the crowd, reminding everyone that Chenise's story, though heartbreaking, could serve as a crucial warning about how quickly domestic violence can escalate. The truth, however, was even more horrifying than anyone imagined. This preventable tragedy had left 2 young children without a mother, and a community forever changed. But justice would not come easily, and the battle was far from over. In a packed courtroom, Justin Soriano faced the consequences of his actions as prosecutors announced the charges: second-degree murder, child endangerment, and criminal threats. However, what investigators discovered next would change everything. The prosecution had built an airtight case, armed with surveillance footage that showed Soriano's calculated movements on that tragic night. Multiple community members stepped up to describe how they had seen Soriano lurking around Chenise's building in the days leading up to the murder. But then, a single piece of evidence brought the case into sharp focus, with the security cameras capturing the entire sequence of events, from his arrival at the baby shower to the fatal confrontation. And with that, the pieces finally fit together. The footage revealed how he had deliberately waited for the perfect moment to attack, showing a level of planning that left even seasoned courtroom experts shaken. Lieutenant Governor Brian Benjamin stepped forward, declaring Chenise's death a national catastrophe.
30 seconds to a minute, he comes back as she's coming out of the car with 4 young children in the car, confronts her. She says, "What are you doing here?" Fires 3 shots, one of which strike her.
This is a stark reminder of how domestic violence continues to claim innocent lives. But one detail didn't add up, which led to Jackie Rowe Adams, founder of Harlem Mothers Save, revealing a hard truth that law enforcement alone cannot prevent these tragedies.
This takes all the gun violence that has been happening over the top. This is a little bit much, and we must do something about this.
The truth remains that preventing domestic violence requires more than just police intervention. It demands community vigilance, stronger protective systems, and immediate action when warning signs appear.
Let's get him off the street. It is important. It's not about, I'm not snitching. This ain't no snitching. This is taking this young man off the street.
If you or someone you know is experiencing domestic violence, don't wait until it's too late. Reach out to domestic violence hotlines, seek help from advocacy groups, and remember, protection orders are just one tool in what needs to be a comprehensive safety plan. As fresh flowers continue to appear at Chenise's growing memorial, her community has made a solemn vow to fight harder against domestic violence, to speak louder for those who can't, and to ensure that Chenise's story serves as a catalyst for change.
Okay, hey, I'm the mama, and I think it's gonna be a boy.
What's going on? It's your boy Sosa. I'm the daddy. I'm telling girl, you feel me? Telling girl, it's a girl, I already know it, man.
In the early hours of July 9, 2023, a plan to end the life of a fiancée and her unborn baby was in motion. Moments earlier, a 38-week pregnant woman had a baby shower where many friends were guessing the baby's gender. Greenville police responded to an emergency call at a home at apartment 302 at Heritage at Arlington Apartments. But when investigators got to the reported apartment, they discovered the most shocking and unbelievable thing ever. A woman and her unborn child had been beaten severely and were barely clinging to life. Nobody knew what happened and how for so long until one clue revealed the truth. This is a very heartbreaking story of Jasmine Cooper and her unborn child, baby Kiani. 27-year-old Jasmine Lynn Cooper was born in 1996 in Greenville, a quiet city in the heart of North Carolina. Her mother, Sharon Cooper, raised her in the city, where she grew into a vibrant and loving young woman with a promising future ahead. Jasmine's kind smile and caring nature made her loved by many, which was clear from the large number of people who attended her baby shower. She was known for her unwavering love for her family and friends, always going above and beyond to support those she held dear. While in high school, Jasmine nurtured her passion for caring for others. After graduation, she pursued a college education in nursing, further dedicating herself to helping people. Friends and family described her as having a vibrant personality that naturally drew others in. Her energy shined through her social media, where she shared vlogs of her daily life with family and friends, capturing moments of joy and connection. But just when it seemed like her life was picture perfect, nothing could have prepared her for what was to come. At just 20 years old, Jasmine met her first baby daddy through a mutual friend. For the sake of this story, let's call him Hayden. Jasmine and Hayden connected instantly. They were both young and shared similar interests. Though not much is known about Hayden, the two quickly fell for each other. They spent lots of time together, but within a few months, their relationship took a significant turn. Jasmine discovered she was pregnant. While Jasmine's family was happy to see her with this young man, she obviously was head over heels for him, and it seemed like they genuinely cared for each other. So, they were caught off guard when they learned the couple was expecting a baby. Despite the surprise, Jasmine and her soon-to-be baby daddy Hayden couldn't have been more excited about the new chapter in their lives. A few months later, they welcomed their baby girl, and almost immediately, Jasmine embraced motherhood wholeheartedly, dedicating herself to her daughter, who quickly became her world. Her social media was filled with precious moments of them together. However, love alone wasn't enough to keep things from slowly falling apart. Rather than bringing them closer, the birth of their child seemed to be the very thing that would drive them apart. The pressures of parenthood began to take a toll on Jasmine and Hayden's relationship. As their co-parenting relationship grew more strained, their romantic relationship was taking a hit, and eventually, it came to an end. But even though the relationship ended, Hayden loved his daughter, so he stayed involved in her life, and although Jasmine had full custody of their child, Hayden still had visitation rights. But as Jasmine turned the page from her past, she found herself stepping into a new chapter, one that would change everything. Due to Jasmine's vibrant personality and social charm, it was not long before she would cross paths with someone who shared similar interests as her. Jasmine found love again, this time with this man, 29-year-old Kayshawn Williams, popularly known as Love Sosa. By all accounts, Kayshawn was a hard-working truck driver. He treated Jasmine with love and affection, often surprising her with gifts, flowers, and thoughtful gestures. Their relationship was on full display on social media, where they frequently posted about their time together, sharing vlogs of their daily lives, romantic getaways, and intimate moments. He seemed like a devoted partner. To everyone watching, they seemed deeply in love. So after dating for 3 years, Kayshawn proposed, and Jasmine happily said yes. The couple then decided to move in together, settling into an apartment, 302, at the Heritage at Arlington Apartments on 2744 West Arlington Boulevard, ready to start the next chapter of their lives. But sadly, as we've seen so often, social media can hide painful truths. Soon, Jasmine found out she was pregnant, and she was overjoyed to learn they were expecting a child, who could be her second if the tragedy did not happen. She had already picked out a name, Kiani, a name she lovingly shared on her social media, expressing her excitement about becoming a mother again. On social media, most of the posts about love and excitement came from Jasmine's account. She frequently shared updates about her pregnancy, expressing her joy about becoming a mother. One of her most shared posts was from her Valentine's Day celebration, where she gushed about her love for Kayshawn and the beautiful surprise he had set up for her. But behind the happy posts, things were changing. On the outside, it didn't seem like Jasmine and Kayshawn were going through any rough patches. In fact, around April of 2023, the couple hosted a gender reveal party with a Princess and the Frog theme, bringing together many of Jasmine's friends from both near and far. It was a happy occasion, filled with excitement as everyone tried to guess the gender of Jasmine's second baby.
Okay, hey, I'm the mama, and I think it's gonna be a boy.
What's going on? It's your boy Sosa. I'm the daddy. I'm telling girl, you feel me? Telling girl, it's a girl, I already know it, man. You feel me? Brandon, I'm a cousin. Kid's gonna be a girl.
Friday, I'm a friend of Jazz from work, and I think it's gonna be a boy. My name is Destiny. I'm a friend of Jazz, and I think it's gonna be a girl. Cause Mama, I see you and I'm real good friends with the mom. I think it's a boy. I'm Jasmine's best friend, and I think it's a girl. Okay, sister and Jasmine's sister, and I think it's a girl.
My name's Tip. Jazz, my little roadie. I don't got to say nothing. My eyes tell it all, baby.
All right, babe, we know what you got. We know.
Okay, I know Jasmine because I used to do her hair from the time she was 2 years old. No, I'm joking.
But when the moment of truth arrived, something shifted. The excitement on Kayshawn's face faded. The baby wasn't the gender he had expected or wanted, and from that day on, his behavior changed. The once involved father-to-be started to grow distant, showing little to no interest in the pregnancy. And it wouldn't take long before this disappointment would take a tragic turn. You see, there was something Jasmine didn't know about Kayshawn. On the surface, he seemed like the perfect fiancé, charming, caring, and eager to start a family with her. But behind closed doors, he was hiding a dark past. Kayshawn had a history of domestic violence, something Jasmine may not have been fully aware of. Allegedly, her family had witnessed his abusive and controlling behavior on multiple occasions. He was possessive, quick to anger, and prone to violent outbursts. There were even times when he had hit and choked her in fits of jealousy. Yet, despite all the warning signs, Jasmine stayed, perhaps believing he would change, or maybe out of fear of what would happen if she left. But when she revealed the baby gender, things took a shocking turn in their lives. So, Jasmine made up her mind to leave Kayshawn and have her baby taken care of elsewhere. And as soon as Kayshawn realized Jasmine was planning to leave him, he changed his behavior. He began acting more loving and tried convincing her to stay. Jasmine loved him deeply, so she chose to forgive him and stayed. But it didn't take long before Kayshawn returned to his old ways. He became aggressive and started accusing Jasmine of cheating. Jasmine tried to confide in her family and friends about what she was going through, but they didn't believe her. Seeing their happy photos on social media, Jasmine's friends and family believed she and Kayshawn had the perfect relationship. So instead of taking her concerns seriously, they dismissed them, thinking she was exaggerating his behavior. Maybe, they thought, just maybe she was the problem. But something would end up happening that would set off a chain of events that no one could have imagined. On May 15, 2023, Jasmine had filed for a restraining order against Kayshawn after she told police that he had brutally beaten her, leaving her hospitalized, after accusing her of cheating. But not only that, she revealed that he had also threatened to kill her if she ever left him. That was until the most horrifying thing anyone could have imagined happened. On the morning of July 9, 2023, Kayshawn and Jasmine had gotten into a heated argument in their living room about the gender of their expected baby and who the actual father was. Jasmine, who was 38 weeks pregnant and nearing her delivery date, had likely been preparing for the arrival of their child, but things quickly got out of control. According to Jasmine's family and friends, Kayshawn didn't just want a child anymore, he was doubting whether he was the father of the unborn baby. In a fit of rage over the disagreements, Kayshawn snapped. He attacked Jasmine, beating her with his fists before he grabbed a metal pipe, and he struck her repeatedly on the head, face, and chest. As he continued with the assault, he dragged her to their bedroom, where he strangled her with his bare hands. But even that wasn't enough for him. He then took a kitchen knife and stabbed her in the abdomen. After the brutal attack, Kayshawn left the apartment and drove to his mother's house on the 1100 block of Eagle Chase Lane, West 14th Street. In an attempt to cover his tracks, he made a frantic 911 call, where he pretended to have just discovered Jasmine's lifeless body. He told authorities that he had gone out to buy groceries, and when he returned home, he found his fiancée lying in a pool of blood. When emergency responders got to the scene, they found the most heartbreaking thing ever. They found 27-year-old Jasmine Cooper, who was 38 weeks pregnant with multiple injuries on her body, barely clinging to life. But it wasn't just the wounds that alarmed them. Jasmine had been stabbed. At that moment, officers knew they weren't just dealing with a case of assault, they were standing in the middle of an attempted murder scene. Immediately, Jasmine was rushed to ECU Health Medical Center, where doctors attempted an emergency procedure to save her unborn baby. Despite their desperate efforts, the reality of the situation was far more tragic than anyone could have imagined. Despite the doctor's best efforts to save the baby, Jasmine's unborn baby did not survive, as the injuries were directly tied to her mother's condition. Tragically, Jasmine Cooper also surrendered to her injuries, resulting in the heartbreaking loss of both mother and child. Due to the injuries found on Jasmine's body, police ordered an autopsy. The examination conducted at the Pitt County Medical Examiner's Office would reveal a shocking detail. The autopsy confirmed what police had feared. Jasmine had died from blunt force trauma to the head and strangulation. This was no accident. This was a brutal murder. Investigators immediately launched a full-scale investigation, starting at the crime scene, Keyshawn and Jasmine's apartment. What they found painted a horrifying picture. Blood-stained splatters covered the floors, walls, and the furniture of the apartment. It was clear evidence that a violent struggle had occurred in the home. As they searched further, they discovered a metal pipe and a kitchen knife, which they believed to have been used in the attack. Investigators sent the weapons to the crime lab for analysis. What the results revealed sent a wave of devastation through everyone involved. The blood on the metal pipe and kitchen knife belonged to Jasmine, and the fingerprints matched both Jasmine and her boyfriend, Keyshawn. Police immediately had a clue of who the suspect was, but they needed more proof. So they obtained surveillance footage from a nearby convenience store. When they reviewed the footage, they spotted Keyshawn in the convenience store making a purchase around 9 a.m. on July 9, 2023, just an hour before the 911 call was made. Police compared the timestamps from the surveillance footage and Keyshawn's 911 call. They realized that Jasmine had already been murdered before he went to buy groceries. This meant he had staged the scene to make it look like he had just discovered her body. Further evidence came from a neighbor's security camera. The footage showed Keyshawn leaving their apartment around 9:50 a.m., carrying a bag before getting into his car and driving away. On July 15, 6 days after Jasmine and her baby's tragic death at around 11 a.m., investigators tracked Keyshawn to his mother's home on the 1100 block of Eagle Chase Lane, West 14th Street. His car was parked outside, confirming his location. However, when authorities attempted to arrest him, Keyshawn refused to surrender, leading to a tense standoff with the Greenville Police Department Emergency Response Team and the Fugitive Criminal Apprehension Team. For 2 hours, officers negotiated, working to bring him in without further violence. Finally, Keyshawn Williams was officially arrested and charged with 2 counts of first-degree murder, one for Jasmine Cooper and one for her unborn child.
We first begin tracking crime. A Greenville man has been charged for the murder of his pregnant girlfriend and unborn child. Police say on July 9th, 27-year-old Jasmine Cooper was found unresponsive and died at the hospital. Medical examiners determined Cooper's death was a homicide. Today, police arrested Cooper's boyfriend, 29-year-old Keyshawn Williams, as a suspect. Williams is charged with 1 count of murder and 1 count of murder for the unborn child.
Arrested a man today following a standoff and charged him with killing his girlfriend and her unborn child. Greenville police, a 29-year-old Keyshawn Williams, was arrested just after 11 a.m. today at a home in the 1100 block of Eagle Chase Lane after a brief standoff with police. Williams is charged with the murder of his girlfriend, 27-year-old Jasmine Cooper, as well as her unborn child. Officers tell WI10 that it's believed that the child was Williams's. Officers went to an apartment on West Arlington Boulevard back on July 9th, just before 10 a.m. for a report of an unresponsive woman. Cooper, who police said was 38 weeks pregnant, was taken to ECU Health Medical Center, where she and her unborn baby girl died. Police said an autopsy revealed the woman died as a result of blunt force trauma to the head and strangulation. Williams is in the Pitt County Detention Center under no bond.
When Jasmine's family received the devastating news of her and her baby's passing, they were in complete shock of losing Jasmine and her unborn child. More so now, knowing who the person was that took their lives away. They couldn't help but express their displeasure. And even more disturbing was what Keyshawn did next. After police announced the tragic passing of his fiancée and their unborn child, he took to social media to express his so-called grief. But the most chilling part, he knew he was the one responsible for this horrific act. With the same hands that took Jasmine's life, he typed out a gut-wrenching post. "I don't know where to start. What I just lost is mind-blowing. I'm lost out here, man. I can't think. I'm sick. My fiancé, my baby girl, Jasmine Cooper, I will never be okay. My heart is broken, man. Why do I always lose what I love when I've been doing nothing but good things in life? Maybe I should just take my life. I miss you, baby. It was a desperate attempt to paint himself as the victim, to manipulate the public into feeling sympathy for him. But the truth couldn't be buried under his fake tears. He wasn't grieving. He was guilty, and he knew that. Keyshawn Williams is currently being held at Pitt County Detention Center without bond as he awaits further court proceedings. Greenville Police Chief Ted Sauls, who is overseeing the case, expressed that this domestic violence situation stands out because there were no prior reports or known warning signs. He urged the community to stay vigilant and speak up if they see something concerning. You might be the voice for someone who's afraid to speak up, Chief Sauls emphasized. Even if you don't want to get involved directly or share your name, providing information about what someone else might be going through can make all the difference. It's about looking out for one another and making sure no one suffers in silence. What happened to Jasmine Cooper is nothing short of heartbreaking. The loss of a young woman and her unborn child is a tragedy that has left a void that can never be filled for her family, her friends, and the entire community. Jasmine Cooper's story is a heartbreaking reminder of how love can sometimes take a dark turn, especially when a partner's desire for a specific gender outweighs their love for the child itself. Jasmine Cooper thought she had found her forever, but instead, she was met with betrayal in the most tragic way. What do you think could have been done to prevent this tragedy? Were there any warning signs that may have been overlooked? Let me know what you think in the comments section below.